Hello, this is Sebastian from socialanxietysolutions.com and former social anxiety disorder sufferer, social confidence coach, and I am also the host of the Social Confidence Club. Now, you don't necessarily hear a lot from that because I only open it once a year, and it's about to open when you're watching this. And so I thought, why not interview a bunch of the members of the Social Confidence Club so that they can share their genuine experience with you, and so you can see if this is something that might be interesting for you. Okay, so I'm talking today with Graham. Graham joined the Social Confidence Club last May, I
I
think.
was about to ask, when did it start?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
whenever it
May,
started. Yeah.
whenever that was, and yeah, it's been kind of a good time. And just in the little pre-chat, we were talking about how great of a community it's become. And yeah, we're gonna basically I'm gonna ask some questions that I found online um, to Graham, and we'll have a bit of
Nice.
a conversation, and we'll just take it from there. So it's always good to kind of get a bit of a perspective about where people were at one point, and then how things are now. So we want to start with how it was. So can you explain what your social anxiety experience was like before before the whole thing, before the challenge, before the club? What was that
Okay,
like?
before starting any work at all on it, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, not good in simple terms, but yeah, it was quite severe in terms of its debilitating effects. So for example, like I'd be living in my university house, and I would be like scared to get phone calls from my parents. Like my brother would be on the line with my mom and dad, and that would be a huge struggle. I would have to push myself into like even talking with them. And like logically I knew there's no threat here, but like emotionally it was a whole other story. So yeah, it was bad for sure back then, and I was in a lot of pain from it, and it kind of felt like kind of a mild depression almost that kind of stemmed from the how debilitating the social anxiety actually was at
Mm,
that time. So
mm.
yeah, not good.
Not good.
Not
And
good at all.
so you picked an example of where it would then show up for you, where you had to force yourself. What were the symptoms that you would experience?
Oh yeah, everything. In terms of like, yeah, I think what stands out the most back then was like the self-criticism, like what we were talking about earlier. And it wasn't even like self-criticism, it was more in the realm of like self-abuse at that point. And that was pretty severe. So when the social anxiety would come up, let's say I wanted to like go to a party or something like that, I couldn't go, like it didn't feel safe enough to go, so I wouldn't go. And then this self-abuse kind of cycle would start running, and that was just like horrible to live in um during that period of time.
How would you talk to yourself? What were the kinds of things that you would say to yourself?
um what was interesting was like a lot of it was like the basic kind of like you're a loser, like you're pathetic kind of stuff, but it was also just like the feeling as well. And what I mean is like the feeling that there was something fundamentally wrong with me, like broken kind of. And I guess that's kind of a somewhat of a different aspect, but yeah, there was just that big concern that there was like something actually wrong with me at that time.
Mm,
Um, Everybody was here and I was just off. Like I wasn't running with the crowd like that. Yeah, I was like kind of an outcast. That's at least how it felt.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't feel very pleasant, right?
No, no,
Like,
it does
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what emotions did that make you feel?
A lot of sadness at the time, a lot of sadness, and yeah, yeah, that was probably what was most present.
And when you thought of how people perceived you?
Oh yeah, that was like bad. Like what I thought other people thought of me was like this horrible kind of like decrepit creature. Um, I was totally like who I actually am and what I thought they thought of me was very different things. Because I know a lot more of like who I actually am now than I did back then, but back then I was operating with a completely different mindset. So yeah, not the best explanation, but
No, I get it.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And what was most difficult for you at the time in terms of social life, social experience?
Um, well, I feel like it got its worst probably in university, like in my third year of university. And I just saw other people like having a social experience because that was what university was all about. And this is true for high school as well, but university especially, from yeah, basically start to end before I actually started to get a handle on it. It was like I saw everybody having these friendships and stuff, and I knew that I couldn't have that because it didn't feel safe to either be myself or show myself. And that's what people need for friendships is actually
Yeah.
a letting down of the walls, like vulnerability. And it just didn't feel safe at all to actually show that at that
Mm,
time. So that was like a huge challenge.
mm, mm. If you did force yourself, or I mean, avoidance is a very common thing that we do. Is
Yeah.
like, okay, social situations are painful, they're awkward, they're uncomfortable. I blush, whatever, and so I don't want to go into them, so I avoid them, right? Um, However, when you cannot avoid everything because sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
get caught off guard, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
would happen in those situations?
Oh man. Yeah, like some of the because I would still want to be like social. I would still want to be going to those type of things, but oh, I guess in terms of like the caught off guard type of thing, I guess that would be like if I was just out and about and I would see somebody that I knew, that was probably one of the worst type of things. And yeah, what yeah, I remember thinking back, just like in the grocery store actually with my brother and then seeing somebody I knew from school and it was just like I felt like I wanted to like put my head through a window at that point. The anxiety was like so high. It was just that like a 9 or so in terms of feelings. So it would be I'd see the person and then I would instantly try to hide myself like okay, hopefully if I hide in another aisle or something that they won't recognize me, but if they did actually recognize me then it was like I'd feel a lot of shame and embarrassment and then the self-abuse cycle would start running as well. So yeah, it's a whole thing.
Mm,
One little thing would start with that, the trigger, and then the self-abuse and everything, and that would then carry on for a long time after the situation actually happened.
mm. And when you would be in that, say, store with your brother and you see that person, you get triggered, what would happen for you physically? Because I know that you're now quite aware of that because of, the work you've been doing, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, they're not very aware of what's happening
Mm.
physically. So
Yeah.
what would happen for you?
Well, it was like my body would be going into like survival mode. So my heart would start racing like crazy. It would feel like it was about to come out of my chest. I would start sweating. Um, my face would all tighten up. So like all of the muscles in my face would get super tight. Um, what else would happen? my face would probably go like bright red as well. Yeah, just like, and I could like feel the adrenaline as well in my body at the time. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a that's a good explanation of the pain. You know, I
Hmm.
can relate to everything you say,
Yes.
and it's also it's a very common experience as well for people that like, uh-oh, you know, I'm gonna run into someone,
Hmm.
and um, for some people it's like I'm gonna run into someone, or someone for other people it's like I'm gonna run into someone while I'm with someone else.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm with my family, I'm comfortable, but now I'm going
Yes.
to run into someone else and people are going to see how uncomfortable and awkward I'm going to get. And I was
Yes.
like, all of the meaning of that. And it's just a disaster. Yeah. Okay. Enough. All right. So, what were some of the things that you tried before, um, and what were your results?
Hmm. Well, a lot of the self-abuse before, like even outside of any forms of therapy, there was a lot of the beating myself up that yeah, believe it or not, did not did not actually help my social
Surprise.
anxiety
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
Funny enough. Funny enough. And then eventually, well, what kickstarted me actually getting into working was like I couldn't go into like Shoppers Drug Mart, like a pharmacy grocery store type of thing with my girlfriend. And I was saying like, aren't you how do you feel in the store? Don't you feel like all of those horrible like feelings like you have to either fight somebody or like run out of the store or whatever? And she's like, no, but that sounds like a lot like anxiety. And I remember that moment and I was like, okay, I probably have this. And I knew for a while, but yeah. But anyways, to answer your question, um, it was once I kind of like knew what I was dealing with to a certain extent, I tried kind of a mindfulness based like CBT approach in an online program. So it was like being aware of my emotions, and then thoughts would come in, like anxious thoughts would come in, threats like from the outside world. And then I would be just like monitoring it and watching it go. So I did that program for a little bit, kind of fell off the wagon with that. Went to see like the school kind of guidance, health and wellness center people. They were like helpful, but they didn't really understand what was going on. Like they didn't really say anything about social anxiety. They just gave me some like resources, like a worksheet. And then I did like 8 sessions with a social worker, and that was definitely helpful. But I found the in-person sessions at that point like really challenging because like my
Mm,
social anxiety was still really high.
mm,
And then after that, definitely helped, but it was still there. And then yeah, I found your channel just by typing in social anxiety solutions actually into YouTube. And then I did some of the beginner free videos because I was like, well, like they're free. What do I have to lose? Either I embarrass myself doing this or it actually helps me. And it was the latter. It definitely helped me. So yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Um, hmm, right. So some people are doubtful about starting the social conference club. So you gotta think that the people, when they're watching this, they've likely already had well, I guess some of them will have experienced the 30-day challenge. I'm not sure if everyone will have experienced the 30-day challenge.
Hmm.
Um, but just for you personally, prior to starting the social confidence club, did you have any obstacles that would have prevented you from investing in it?
Yeah, my resistance was still quite strong at that point.
Okay.
So I was still very much on the fence going back and forth. And I was thinking, well, maybe like I can just do the 30-day stuff and like, and oh, there's also a feeling of like I can go about this kind of on my own. It was kind of like I can go it alone type feeling. And
Yeah.
that was like, yeah, back in April or June. And then eventually I was like, no, I don't think I can fully resolve like all of the aspects that actually make up the problem that I'm dealing with. So at that point, I was like, no, I want to do this. The smarter part of me won rather than the resistance part of me. Yeah. And I was also interested in the community aspect because I got a bit of a taste of that in the 30-day type of thing. And it was both like exciting and scary at the start. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah, it was also because it was not done before in this particular format. I mean, I did a social conference community in 2018, but
Yeah.
um, anyway, I'm getting off topic. Get excited. All right, next question. um, can you remember how you felt at the start of the social conference club? Like, did you have worries or concerns? Because it started out and there was like, all right, we've got this forum now, and the
Yeah.
WhatsApp wasn't there yet. We've got this forum now, and we're gonna do these webinars. You're
Oh
gonna get
yeah.
this information.
Yeah,
How
I
did you feel
remember
around that?
the webinars as well, because that was almost the next step, right? The 30-day
Yeah,
was in very much in the privacy of my own home. I'm not seeing you. It's just like a pre-recording type of thing. So then I was faced with like, oh shit, like, well, I have to actually show up, and then be seen live by other people.
yeah. You
And it
you didn't
was
have to, by the way, but you had the
true. Yeah.
choice,
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have a gun to my head, but yeah,
right?
I felt, yeah, I felt like I wanted to. I wanted to actually show up and
Because there
participate.
are people,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but I
Yeah,
just
it's
want to
all
paint the
good.
picture.
Hmm.
There are people that have I mean, there are people, the majority even of all of the people in the social confidence club, they have not participated with their face on the webinars, and they're still in the process of getting themselves to that place, or maybe they will never because they simply don't want to, and they want to have this experience completely anonymous, and they can, but you chose to show up.
Hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was also like I didn't feel it wasn't so much a pressure like from you or like expectations of the other people that made me end up deciding that I wanted to show up like audio and video on. I think even for the start, it was Andres was the first volunteer. I remember that. And yeah, I don't even know. I remained muted almost for the whole thing. And then gradually, like we worked in tiny steps of like getting people more comfortable with the format. So yeah, my fears at the start were definitely quite high surrounding participation and like yeah, because I thought it was basically going to be like I join and now I have to like talk about my emotional problems in front of like strangers. That was what I at least thought at the start, and then I know that's not really the case now,
Mm,
or my fears
mm.
around it have subsided a lot. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, And when you're watching this, let me just explain a little bit the format, how it was then and what what it is now. Um, what it was then was we did the first live webinar, and I explained, well, there are different levels in which you can participate. So I will be doing a coaching session with one person, and you can join that live webinar. Um, Anonymously. So we don't see you, we don't hear you, but you can see the coaching session. Um, or you can be there in screen, but you're muted. So you're visible by others, but you're not talking. Um, I mean, we didn't even do a participation at the beginning. So that
No.
was like the option. We got a whole bunch of people showing up. It was really cool. But yeah, that was the first time that we ever did that. First time I ever did it. And we got like, 25 people in screen, if it wasn't even more. And so I do the coaching session and everyone is tapping along and everyone benefits from it because I'm working with Graham. You're going to have lots of feelings that you can relate to that Graham talks about. And when he talks about particular things, you'll have memories come up, you'll have ideas about yourself, you'll have beliefs come up, and simultaneously you're doing the tapping and you're doing these other techniques and you start making shifts and changes. And that's also what started happening with the people that were watching these webinars, either live or on the replay. That's even, some people only watch the replays. They started they observed me working with, Andres was the first one, me helping Andres making a transformation. And they noticed that as they tapped along with it, they started making transformations and everyone became more and more comfortable being on screen. But it's not necessary. You don't have to be on screen, but it's an option. And some people, after like a couple of months, they had been using the webinars as a way to get themselves more comfortable, to challenge themselves to start to come in screen, or to challenge themselves to start talking. And later on, we added the Friday Hangouts, where I basically work with anyone in screen. So you show up and, and I just, invite you. Do you want to talk? Yes, there's no obligation, but if so, okay, then I'll work with a bit of your problem, and then I'll work with a bit of that problem, and and it's different people, and we ping pong back and forth. And that sounds like really nerve-wracking, and it is to a degree, but it's also kind of fun.
I've survived everyone.
Right, it's kind of a good time. So what I'm trying to communicate is there are different levels of participation that you can choose so that you're never beyond what you can handle. And so say, and not that there are actual levels of participation degrees, but say that there are 5 degrees of participation. The lowest level of participation is basically no challenge, because you're just watching replays and you're tapping along with things and you're doing the exercises and nobody knows that you're even part of the whole social confidence club. That's the lowest level of participation. That's possible, and the majority of people is actually doing that. And I think there's more than, I don't know what it is at the time of making this, but we're recording this in, what is it, like mid-December now, and there's more than 75% of the people that stayed on board since the start of all of this, because they're getting the results. So that is possible. That's the lowest level. And some people will then work themselves up because they want to participate more. And it's just up to you. There are choices, it's totally up to you. Right, so good. Next question. Let me see. Well, yeah. How do you feel now? Like, what are your results? What has changed? How's your social anxiety now?
Yeah, it's not gone. It's definitely not gone, but I think the difference has definitely been night and day from the start. Because I really committed to things like at the start of January of this year. So this is kind of cool. It's mid-December. This is like a year kind of wrap up for me as well. So I was still very much in the suffering zone. I'm not saying that's like a zone for everybody, but I was in the suffering zone back then, like at the start of the year, even like into February and March a little bit, and then slowly, and then, well, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, I would move out of that and then into another area and then another area. And then it all kind of like blended together, and it all added up really, like each little bit, like attending the Friday things or the Sunday webinars, or like any personal work I was doing, even if it was just like the mindless stuff, it all like added up. And then it got me to where I am now, which is not free of social anxiety, but like incredibly committed to becoming so. And I know I'm a lot closer to social ease than I am back where I was like at the start, because I was so much socially anxious back then. And now I feel like I'm closer to social ease than I am to the social anxiety. And that's pretty crazy even to say at this point. So
Awesome.
it has been a lot of work, but you also get to set how much you want to do with it. I cared a lot about, and I still do, about becoming socially at ease. So I put in a lot of work, and it's definitely paid off for me. So
Okay. And what happened to your level of anxiety or the frequency of anxiety?
yeah, both definitely dropped. So what I was saying before, like at the start of the year, it would be like a constant like four, maybe like a constant 4 or 5 in terms of intensity, and that was even just like by myself, almost like in my own home. And
Mm,
then now it's kind of switched, and it's a constant, well, not a constant, but it's like I feel happy more times than I feel upset, and sad that I can't do all of these things because of the social anxiety. So yeah, in terms of like the intensity and my mood, it's definitely been a big switch there. It stays around a lot less as well. So there's still aspects that I haven't worked through that are triggering to me, and I still get that response. But the response that I do get is much smaller than it was at the start, and it also sticks around for like way less time. So I can like almost feel it, and like even as I'm feeling it, it's already like on its way out, in a lot of cases. Not all, but in a lot of them.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's big. Um, for I'd say, well, not all people, but the vast majority of people, it's a progressive decreasing of the problem, a progressive shrinking of the problem, because by working through the triggers, your brain is perceiving threats. There's an X amount of threats that your brain is perceiving. And by working through these threats, by releasing them one by one, you become more resilient. You become more at ease with yourself. That's why Graham's saying, I feel I'm more on the side of social ease now than I was at the side of social anxiety at the start of the year. Um, and from that place of more resilience, you can also cope with it a lot better. So then when you do get triggered, it doesn't stay around for that long. And how about your you talked about that beating yourself up and inner gremlin and that kind of stuff. How are things with that?
Yeah, that's in a lot of cases much more smoothed over. I think I'm still trying to establish more of like a friendship with myself. That's definitely still like a work in progress. But in terms of like that self-abuse type of thing I was talking about earlier, yeah, that's like basically gone. One, when I'm feeling bad or like kind of in a bad mood, I don't gravitate towards like beating myself up anymore. It's not really that self-abuse. I'm more just trying to figure out, well, what is causing the bad mood in the first place. So it's nice. I have more of, it's more room to actually like support myself with it. And that came from like the knowledge of why I'm actually feeling bad in the first place. So I got the knowledge, and even though I may not have addressed all of the things causing my anxiety, I could be feeling just as anxious before as to when I had the knowledge. But after I understood that it was not my fault, really, that this is just external things, then I could forgive myself a lot more, and it was easier to get through at that time.
Mm,
Yeah.
got it. Good. Um, all right. Let me see. Has it been worth the money you've invested?
Yeah, most definitely. That was a bit of a hang up for me at the start, actually. Not with the club per se, but like investing in any type of like inner work, like working with a therapist or like a tapping type practitioner. That was definitely a bit of a hang up for me. And then I was like, well, I got to do something. So I did. And then yeah, I started to see the shifts and I was like, why am I really holding back in that area? Because if I can do a little bit to make myself feel better, I am bringing myself with me wherever I go. So it's always worth the investment. Like I'm the best investment I could make, really. So
Exactly. Couldn't
yeah.
couldn't agree more. Yeah, yeah.
No.
Uh, I don't have social anxiety anymore for a long time, but that whole idea of investing in myself, that
Yeah.
is, that's a core thing. I still work with my coach and my mentor. I work with my coach on a weekly basis, see my mentor probably on a monthly, maybe 6 week basis. But that's because it continuously, the more I grow, the more I evolve, just everything just improves. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is definitely the best investment that you can make. Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Was it a painful process?
No. I'm not going to lie and say it was easy because it definitely was not easy, but a lot of the pain I thought would happen during never really did. It was definitely challenging at times, and it still is challenging because I'm still in the midst of it. But all of that like pain and stuff was more me at the start before I did the work, imagining all of the painful like hoops of fire I was gonna have to jump through to actually get where I wanted to be. But a lot of
Mm,
that was just like, yeah, it wasn't really real because the change itself wasn't exactly painful. And yeah, even after the fact, like it was more just the benefits. Yeah, and then a new thing would come up and I was like, okay, well, I'll turn my attention towards that now because that seems to be kind of pressing on me. So it's just
yeah,
like a gradual thing.
got it. And what was so difficult then? Like if someone is going to go through this experience, going to join the club, and what is it that was most difficult for you, and what can you say to them, like in how you dealt with that? First,
Yeah,
get
I don't know
into
if it was
explaining.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it was like one specific thing. I guess, hmm, let me actually think. Um, I think like trusting yourself as well, because at the start when you don't have all of the resources, so like Graham back then didn't have all of the resources that I do now. So myself back then, um, it was very much unknown. Like there was a lot of unknown territory, and it felt quite scary at times. Um, and yeah, really the biggest challenge was just like continuing, I guess, to work through things. And there was the slipping back, right? So I would work myself to an area and then I would kind of naively think, great, like this is it. Like I've conquered my social anxiety. And then I'd like go to the grocery store or whatever, and then I would get triggered again. And so there's that kind of like, oh, damn, like it's still there kind of feeling. But I
Mm,
realized after a while, the work I had done before wasn't a waste of time. It was like still very useful. And this was just the next thing coming to me for attention, that needed work. So it was like it's been a long process for sure. But at each stage, there has been a benefit to me. So, yeah, at times it can feel like, when am I ever going to get there? Like, I still feel a little bit like that now, but I can kind of, I'm not so concerned with that as I was at the start because I know I will get there and I'm like incredibly committed to getting there.
mm,
And it's just a matter of like putting in the work, and when it gets to that stage, that's coming next, great. And when it gets to the next stage, like great, because that was meant to happen given how much work I put in at the time. So
Yeah. And what do you mean by work that you put in? I mean, I know what it is, but
yeah. I guess it's kind of like a broad category. I meant more so like tapping, whether it's to like a replay or like if I'm actually attending something live. Or yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty broad category. But in terms of like the social anxiety specifically, I would say just the tapping alone was incredibly helpful, and it still is helpful. And the work, I guess, working through the different aspects of, well, what you're offering in the club, as well as like other resources that interested me outside of that. So just
mm,
doing anything that would help me either gain more information about like what I was dealing with and how I could help me, or like doing the actual, physical work from it, like the tapping.
yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Cool. Um, what specifically did you like most about the social conference club?
Hmm. There's a lot of things. It's a good
One thing.
question. Yeah, one thing. I'm still trying to think of the best thing. The community, 100%. Yeah, it was
Okay.
definitely one thing, or it still is one thing, and to see it grow from kind of people who didn't really know each other at the start, and everybody's like walking a little wary. Like I was still scared to update my profile picture in the club to even show my face to other people who have social anxiety, and I have social anxiety as well. And then just seeing how it developed down the line, like kind of a family actually. Like
Mm,
it's pretty tight and it's cool. It's not like tight that it's like a posse, when new people come in and we're like, you're a new member. But no, it's a really cool community and I really enjoy all of the people there. And it's a lot of fun just watching the replays and getting to know more about them as well, and seeing how it's different people from different countries who like speak different languages, but like we're all still the same, like united in the journey. Basically, sounds a little
yeah.
cliche, but everybody is here to actually find themselves and who they really are. So I really like
Yeah.
that aspect about it.
Yeah. And accept themselves. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I just get excited about seeing all the transformations of
Mm-hmm.
people,
Yeah.
and seeing that on screen and how that motivates each other. Because like, oh, look at Andres, like, hey, James is doing this, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's cool, it's
Yeah,
it's
it
awesome.
definitely is. It definitely
Yeah,
is.
yeah, nice. Okay, what are three other benefits of the social conference club for you?
The ability to watch the replays or just like use any of the content at any time.
Okay, sorry, I asked that wrong. What are three other benefits that you've received as a result of being a participant of the member
I
a
was about to
member
do
of
my
the
best
yeah.
sales pitch. So three benefits as like a member right now that I'm experiencing.
Yeah, like in terms of, okay, you come in with this problem with social anxiety and you're
Hmm.
working towards social ease. So what
Yeah.
are benefits that you have received as in
Oh, I
away
see.
from social anxiety? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, well, I mean, a reduction most definitely in the social anxiety. And yeah, it was cool just thinking back now, like kind of marking my progress about how I was feeling at the start joining the first webinar, and then how I'm feeling now joining the live events. And it's more of an excitement now rather than like the anxiety is still there, the worry is still there, but I can watch it a little bit more easily now, and it feels like I can accept it a little bit more. Not trying to hide myself as much. So all of those would be benefits of just like engaging in the club, whether it's like the replays or like the Wednesday stuff. Like I really enjoy reading a lot about it as well. I don't just want to do this type of work, like the tapping, I want to like actually understand about it, like the triggers stuff I find really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Um, a lot of people with social anxiety, they also suffer from black and white thinking. So, it's either I have social anxiety or I'm completely socially at ease. And there's
Yeah.
nothing in between. No, there are huge steps in between. It's a big difference if you're 10 out of 10 socially anxious, or if you're 7 out of 10 socially anxious, and 7 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 is also a massive difference, or 5 and 3 and so on. So there's different levels in terms of intensity. There's different levels in terms of frequency. If you get triggered all over the place continuously by most people in most social situations, you can't almost go anywhere. But once you become anxiety free, or low levels of anxiety in particular situations, that now becomes something that you can venture into. And so that's what I mean with progressive. The intensity begins to come down. The amount of circumstances in which you get triggered begins to decrease. Your ease with yourself gets up, and more situations you begin to find yourself being able to be you, because it feels safe to be you. Yeah, so I just want to point that out. Okay, almost done. Yeah, would you recommend the Social Confidence Club? If so, why?
Yeah, most definitely. As I was saying, like I was on the fence before joining, and I think that's pretty normal, whether it's like resistance or like whatever other reasons people might be experiencing. But yeah, most definitely. It's a pretty cool place, and it might seem scary at the start, but it's, well, at least in my case, everything seemed scary. Like it wasn't just this that felt scary, it was all other areas that felt scary as well. So eventually, like as you progress more and more in it, then you like relax more into the atmosphere of it, and like you relax more around the people that you're actually talking with as well. So yeah, it's like what I was saying before, it's more of like a family, that kind of feeling. So yeah, most definitely. I felt like, at least before starting, it's very difficult to find a place to, I didn't really have people to talk with about the social anxiety. So it can feel very isolating. And this is like the opposite of that, because everybody understands, like, like on any given week when you see the different people showing up, that they are all coming to that day with the same problem as you. So it's kind of liberating as well. Takes a while for your brain to actually think like, okay, I maybe don't have to hide the fact that I am a little bit anxious on the webinars or whatever, because these people are probably feeling that same exact feeling that I am. But yeah, long answer, but yeah, 100%. It's been really helpful for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you also for sharing, because I mean, this is a testament to your transformation as well. I mean,
yeah, it was
at the
cool. I
beginning,
like that aspect of it.
you're hiding, and now here you are on
Yes.
screen encouraging others. So
Yeah.
that's really, really awesome.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
And we'll be in touch. All right. Thank you. Hope you found this inspiring, and we look forward to seeing you inside the club. All right. Bye for now. Ciao. All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Now, if you're interested in joining the Social Confidence Club, it's not yet possible. Depending on when you're watching this video or listening to this podcast, because at the release of this video, it's February 11, and I shot the interview with Graham a couple of weeks ago in January. And the Social Confidence Club is going to open at the end of February, and it's going to close on the 1st of March. There's going to be a brief period that it's open, and the people that are coming in can get in, and then we close up shop for the whole year, because my main focus will be on serving the members inside the club. So if you're interested in that,
what I suggest you do is that you check out my free masterclass. That masterclass is called How to Overcome Your Social Anxiety Completely Without Forcefully Facing Your Fears Using the Incredible Power of Tapping. And that's a 3-part amazing masterclass, which has the best of all my work. I've been doing this professionally for 11 years. I've been studying personal development since I'm 17, so nearly 2 decades. I've studied under the top people in different fields, and I've taken the best of the best of the best and condensed that into a 3-part video series. That is a fantastic overview and introduction to my work and why it is that the Social Confidence Club can help you take things to the next level. So highly recommend checking that out, and you will then automatically be notified once the Social Confidence Club opens up. So real quick, the first video of that masterclass series, I teach you how to stop your brain from triggering anxiety. The second video, I teach the three main keys to go from social anxiety to effortless social ease. And in the third video, I show you the 5 stages to go from social anxiety to effortless social ease. I've named all of the stages, and there are specific action steps that you need to take in each stage in order to move from one stage to the next. So for example, I'll be talking about stage 1. At stage 1, reduce your suffering, you need to do action step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that, once you've completed that, you move on to stage 2, building super momentum. At building super momentum, you need to do step A, B, C, D, E, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that moves you to stage 3. Stage 3, you need to do step blah, 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 in order to go to stage 4, etc. And then at each stage, I talk about how it is that you're feeling, what kind of progress you've made, what kind of milestones you've achieved. And I then share video testimonials of people who are at those stages. So that whole journey to social ease becomes very visible. And Graham is one of the people that you're likely also going to be hearing about at one of those stages. All right, so it's amazing. Go check it out. So in order to get that free masterclass series and automatically be notified once the Social Confidence Club opens, you want to go to bit.ly/social confidence masterclass. That is bit.ly/social confidence masterclass. So go there now, get yourself signed up, and I'll see you there, or hopefully I'll see you in the comment section of these series. By the way, you can ask any question there, and there are thousands of people going through those series, through that masterclass. All right, so I hope to see you there. Again, bit.ly/social confidence masterclass. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.